Do you know about that killer who made only women his disciples? I am sure you must know about him. If I am there, then I have told you. The most mysterious and scary most American serial killer, a descendant of one of Jack the Ripper's victims, has demanded a new inquest into one of history's most notorious serial killers, after DNA evidence suggested the murderer was a Polish barber. The true identity of Jack the Ripper, whose grisly murders terrorized the murky slums of Whitechapel in East London in 1888, has been a mystery ever since. There have been dozens of suspects, from royalty and prime ministers down to bootmakers. After extracting DNA from a shawl recovered from the scene of one of the killings, Jack the Ripper sleuth Russell Edwards claimed in 2014 that the murderer was Aaron Kosminski, an émigré from Poland who worked as a barber. The story goes that the shawl came from the murder scene of the Ripper's fourth victim, Catherine Eddowes, on September 30th, 1888. At Edwards' request, Dr. Jari Luolainen, a senior lecturer at Liverpool John Moores University, isolated 7 small segments of DNA from bloodstains on the shawl. They were matched with the DNA of Karen Miller, a direct descendant of Eddowes, confirming her blood was on the shawl. On the testing, the first result showed a 99.2% match. Since the DNA has 2 complementary strands, we went on and tested the other DNA strand, which gave a perfect 100% match. Luolainen told the Liverpool Echo newspaper. DNA from semen stains on the garment were matched with a descendant of Kosminski. Edwards has demanded an inquest into the unsolved killing, saying the DNA evidence warrants it. Miller backed the call in an interview with the Daily Mail published on Monday. The name Jack the Ripper has become sensationalized. It has gone down in history as this famous character, she told the paper. People have forgotten about the victims, who did not have justice at the time. Now we need this inquest to legally name the killer. Miller added, having the real person legally named in a court which can consider all the evidence would be a form of justice for the victims. Kosminski's descendants have also supported the inquest, the Daily Mail reported. According to the newspaper, Kosminski's great-great-great-niece, Amanda Paulos, said, "I'm more than happy to finally establish what really happened." Some have cast doubt on Edwards' findings. The research has not been published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal, meaning the claims cannot be independently verified or the methodology scrutinized. Under the law, it is up to the Attorney General to approve a further inquest. 2 years ago, then, the Attorney General, Michael Ellis, refused the request, saying there was not sufficient new evidence. Miller said on Monday the time was right to reopen the case. "It would mean a lot to me, to my family, to a lot of people to finally have this crime solved," she added. Kosminski was born in Klodawa in central Poland on September 11, 1865. His family fled the Imperial Russian anti-Jewish pogroms and emigrated to East London in the early 1880s. He lived close to the murder scenes. As CBS News previously reported, former FBI agent John Douglas referred to the homicides as lust murders, which means the killer attacked the genital areas of his victims. In Douglas's opinion, this was a way to act out his fantasy of domination, cruelty, and mutilation of women. Well, do you know who those women were, who were raped and killed, and that too with such shamelessness that till now no one will be murdered? Actually, Jack the Ripper used to rape women and take out their internal organs. Now, why he did this, no one knew till now. After all, who were those others? Let's find out about them one by one, and then we will solve this case.
Mary Ann Nichols, August 31, 1888. Mary Ann Nichols was born Mary Ann Walker on 26 August 1845 in either Dean Street, off Fetter Lane in London, or Dawes Court, Shoe Lane, off Fleet Street, London. She was the second of 3 children born to Edward Walker, a locksmith, later a blacksmith, and Caroline née Webb, a laundress. Little is known of her early life, although she is known to have been christened by the year 1851. At 3:40 a.m., a carman named Charles Allen Cross, birth name Lechmere, discovered what he initially believed to be a tarpaulin lying on the ground in front of a gated stable entrance in Bucks Row renamed Durward Street in 1892, Whitecapel, as he walked to his place of employment in Broad Street. The location was approximately 150 yards from the London Hospital, now renamed Royal London Hospital, and 100 yards from Blackwall Buildings. Annie Chapman, born Eliza Ann Smith, 25 September 1848 September 1888, was the second canonical victim of the notorious unidentified serial killer Jack the Ripper, who killed and mutilated a minimum of 5 women in the Whitecapel and Spitalfields districts of London from late August to early November 1888. Shortly before 5:00 a.m. on 8 September, the son of a resident of 29 Hanbury Street, John Richardson, entered the backyard of the property to check the padlocked cellar in the yard was still intact and to trim a loose piece of leather from his boot, 49. Richardson verified the cellar was still padlocked, then sat on the rear steps of the property to trim the loose leather from his boot, noting nothing untoward. At 50 he then exited the property via the front door approximately 3 minutes later, having not proceeded beyond the steps to the backyard. Elizabeth, Long Liz, Stride and Eddowes, Gustav's daughter, 27 November 1843 30 September 1888, is believed to have been the third victim of the unidentified serial killer known as Jack the Ripper, who killed and mutilated at least 5 women in the Whitecapel and Spitalfields districts of London from late August to early November 1888. Unlike the other 4 canonical Ripper victims, Stride had not been mutilated following her murder, leading some historians to suspect Stride had not actually been murdered by Jack the Ripper. 3. However, Stride's murder occurred less than 1 hour before the murder of the Ripper's 4th canonical victim, Catherine Eddowes, within walking distance, and her act of murder is suspected to have been disturbed by an individual entering the crime scene on a 2-wheeled cart. 4. In addition, both women had been murdered by slash wounds to the throat. 5. Leading most authors and researchers to consider Stride to be the third of the Ripper's canonical 5 victims. 6. Catherine Eddowes, 14 April 1842 30 September 1888, was the 4th of the canonical 5 victims of the notorious unidentified serial killer known as Jack the Ripper, who is believed to have killed and mutilated a minimum of 5 women in the Whitecapel and Spitalfields districts of London from late August to early November 1888. George Utta's Catherine, née Evans. These 2 murders are commonly referred to as the double event, for a term which originates from the content of the Saucy Jackie postcard received at the Central News Agency on 1 October. A part of a left human kidney, accompanied by a letter addressed from hell and postmarked 5 October, was later sent to the chairman of the Whitecapel Vigilance Committee, George Lusk. The author of this letter claimed the section of kidney was from Utta's, whose left kidney had been removed, and that he had fried and eaten the other half. Most Eddowes's body, photographed prior to her post-mortem at the Golden Lane Mortuary. Another policeman to arrive in Mitre Square, in response to Morris's whistle, P.C. Holland, immediately summoned local surgeon George William Sequeira to the scene. Sequeira arrived at the scene at 1:55 a.m. Within minutes, police surgeon Frederick Gordon Brown had also arrived at the crime scene. Mary Jane Kelly, c. 1863 9 November 1888, also known as Marie Jeanette Kelly, Fair Emma, Ginger, Dark Mary and Black Mary, is widely believed by scholars to have been the final victim of the notorious unidentified serial killer Jack the Ripper, who murdered at least 5 women in the Whitecapel and Spitalfields districts of London from late August to early November 1888. At the time of Kelly's death, she was approximately 25 years old, working as a prostitute and living in relative poverty. Unlike the other 4 canonical Ripper victims, each of whom had been murdered outdoors, and whose mutilations could have been committed within minutes. Kelly was murdered within the sparsely furnished single room she rented at 13 Miller's Court, affording her murderer an extensive period of time to eviscerate and mutilate her body. Kelly's body was by far the most extensively mutilated of the canonical victims, with her mutilations taking her murderer approximately 2 hours to perform. What is 13 Miller's Court? In early 1888, Kelly and Barnett moved into 13 Miller's Court, a small, sparsely furnished single room at the back of 26 Dorset Street, Spitalfields, 42. This room had once been the back parlor of 26 Dorset Street and was partitioned by a wooden wall. The weekly rent for this room was 4/6. The passageway leading to Miller's Court.